Hello, I thought I'd make this short video, and I hope it is going to be short and I don't talk too much, to help you to understand what is likely to happen at your first psychotherapy session. This seems to be more or less what you can expect whether you are contacting a counselor or a psychotherapist in New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, America, Europe, or even here in Australia. The pattern is pretty much similar. Some of the legal requirements are different, but the basic details are very much the same. So how are you going to come to therapy? How are you going to come to counseling? Probably you're going to locate somebody like me from a web search. You'll find a website, you'll have a look at it, you'll think, yeah, maybe this guy can help me. You will fill in the little contact form on my website and you'll say, I'd like to come for therapy, can you give me some information? Or you might pick up the telephone and phone me. Remember that I don't always pick up the telephone. If I have clients, my phone is switched off. So the probability is that if you call, you will need to leave a little message and I'll get back to you the moment I'm free. What we'll do is we'll set up an appointment on the phone or on email or however you prefer. You'll probably have one or two questions before you make that appointment, but we'll decide on a time and a date, and you will come to my rooms. Sessions are usually approximately 45 minutes to an hour long. That's to give a therapist a chance to catch up on the notes and things that he needs to make when you leave. In fact, I often tell my clients, for every hour that I spend with you, I'm likely to spend at least another hour and a half, perhaps two or more, on your issues and your case. Sometimes things arise during therapy that I need to explore more, and you, in a way, help with my ongoing education because something crops up that I haven't encountered before and I need to go and research it. Anyway, this is about your experience. You'll turn up, we'll briefly make each other's acquaintance, I'll get you comfortable. In a first session, there are a couple more things that the therapist needs to do and to talk about than will happen in subsequent sessions. I have to do things like give you one or two forms, just like you would experience if you went to see a new doctor, a new client form in which I ask a whole bunch of information from you, like your name and address, how I can contact you, how I may not contact you, your next of kin, any important medical history, any medication that you're taking, any particular religious affiliation or sensitivities, just a couple of basic things. It's a sort of a page and a half kind of form that I use. I will always give a client a form to take home that is called a DAS 21, so that I can get a baseline idea of where you are at in terms of DAS, depression, anxiety, and stress. You'll fill that out before we see each other for a second session, and at the third session we'll talk about the results. I also give you a form to take home that contains the kind of information that I will relay to you at the first session, because it being your first session, most people are a little bit jittery, a little bit nervous, and they forget what I've told them. So I give you a paper version of the most important details from the first session. Most importantly, in the first session, every therapist will deal with the issue of confidentiality. You need to know that when you come into a therapist's rooms, it's a little bit like going to see your lawyer or your doctor or your accountant, in that it is absolutely confidential. Nothing that happens here in this room, nothing that is spoken, nothing that you tell me leaves this room, except there are a few exceptions. You do something that requires you to appear in court, and the judge says, I want to see your therapist's records. In a case like that, it's called a subpoena. I could even be asked to come to court to give evidence. I have to comply. If you tell me something that indicates to me that there is somebody in danger, that you're going to go bludgeon somebody or do some harm to somebody, I have to act on that. The law requires me to. Especially if that person is a child. Given that it might be a child, the urgency is great, and I will have to break confidentiality in that case. And I can break confidentiality if you say I can. It's not uncommon for me to need to talk to your doctor, for example. It happens very rarely, but sometimes you need to give me permission to have a word with your doctor. We may need to talk about medications and things like that. Very importantly, never, ever, ever do I break confidentiality without asking your permission first. Even if I'm subpoenaed and things like that happen, I won't go behind your back and divulge any information without telling you first that I need to do so, and I will ask your permission. Where the law requires me to do it with or without your permission, I'm still going to ask your permission. But I'm going to tell you that, look, I don't really have a choice in this, but I am consulting you. I'm telling you out of courtesy and respect to you as my client. I have to do this, but I'm going to make sure that you are not kept in the dark, or that it's not kept secret from you. So confidentiality is very important. Also, I'm going to give you a little form at the first session, a couple of lines that simply asks you for permission for me to take notes. It would be very stupid of me to sit with you for a couple of hours. Some patients sit in therapy for months and not to take notes. I need to have reminders about the kinds of things that we've discussed, the pertinent stuff. And if I don't have notes, I'm going to forget, and that would be a disservice to you. That note in particular says that I'm asking your permission to keep written notes. Sometimes I may want to make a recording to assist my memory, but that could also include video recording, although I never really do that. But I need your permission to keep a record of what we talk about. As far as the records are concerned, they're kept in a locked safe, and I'm not allowed to show that to anybody. The only person with whom I may discuss your case anonymously without mentioning your name is my supervisor. Now, every counselor, every psychotherapist, every psychologist has their supervisor. A supervisor is a person who really is my psychologist. The person I confide in about my feelings. It would be a bit silly for me to provide therapy to somebody without getting therapy myself, just to keep me on the rails, to make sure that my professional conduct is correct, and that what I am doing with you is up to a standard that is required. Also, psychotherapists and counsellors are all, in Australia, members of one or another, and there are not many, peer organisations that give us authority to do this work. In my case, I'm a member of the Australian Counselling Association, and simply by being a registered member of that association, I am required to conduct myself according to its standards, as well as its ethical standards. That means I'm going to behave myself to a very strict regime. Misbehavior in this world of therapy and counseling and intimate conversations with people is important. Sometimes people break the rules. I don't. One has to be extremely rigid about how you conduct yourself from an ethical and behavior point of view toward your clients. And you also have the right to report me. If I do something that you think is unprofessional or improper, you have every right to report me. You can take me to the police if you like, but you can report me to my professional organization, and they will discipline me if I have misbehaved. I can be chucked out. Other things that you need to know, sessions are typically 45 minutes to an hour. All around the world, the norm is for you to make payment at the end of each session. I take credit cards, I take cash. You can have a receipt. So much for those details. Here in New South Wales, there is a special form that I need to give you, which is a code of conduct for what they call in New South Wales a code of conduct for unregistered health practitioners, and in my case mental health practitioner, because this profession is not regulated by the government here. It is a profession that is regulated by its own professional bodies, and the New South Wales government has a strict set of guidelines also for ethical behaviour and things like that, and I am required to either have it up in my office or to give you a copy. I prefer to give you a copy. You can take it home and you can take a look at it any time that you want to. Another important thing that you need to know is that you're not in therapy or in counselling wearing handcuffs. If you decide after the first session, I'm not so sure I like this fellow, I don't think I'm going to be able to work with him, you can fire me, and I won't take it personally. You are never obliged to make the next appointment. I persuade all my clients to commit to at least 6 sessions to start with. Although some people will go on for 20, 30, 40, for a lifetime of counselling and therapy. But I ask you to commit to 6 because it takes a little while to establish a therapeutic alliance between you and me. It takes a while for us to get to know each other. It takes a little while before you are prepared, typically, to confide fully in me, and because it takes a while to establish that relationship, a lot of therapeutic benefit only starts to emerge after we've had a few sessions together. Now, this is one of the important things that differentiates psychology and psychiatry and psychotherapy from other practices of medicine. I'm not a surgeon. I can't pick up a scalpel and say, this is your issue. I'll cut it out and put it in a test tube. Working with the human mind is far more complicated, and benefits occur over time. For some people, a long time. For some people, not. Some people find that just a few sessions of therapy are sufficient to help them to clarify in their mind what's going on, what their problems are. And when someone like me has helped them to formulate what the issues are and become aware of what those issues are and how they're working on you, you suddenly say, oh my God, I should have known this. I've known this all along. I just didn't realize it. And largely this is what psychotherapy and counselling is about. I don't fix anything. You fix the stuff that's wrong in your life. You fix the stuff that's causing you struggles. I help you to clarify them, to understand them, to see them with different eyes, and to think about them differently. As for therapeutic techniques and modalities, You don't need to know too much detail. I usually do provide a certain amount of what we call psychoeducation as we go along. You raise something and I will explain to you why it is that way, why people think that way, or why people behave in a particular way, just to help you to get a fuller understanding of the issues that you're struggling with. I don't try to give you a degree course in psychology, but I help you to understand what's going on. Because very often, just the fact that you understand where a thing is coming from is enough to help you to deal with it more effectively. I hope this has been useful. I look forward to seeing you.